In 1999, Morpheus offered Neo a choice between a red pill and a blue pill. In 2018, this country fractured between red and blue. In 2022, I'm here to tell you that if you really want the truth, more voters are neither red or blue. Yet, they have no representation, no choice, and no options. They have to choose between candidates chosen by the red people or the blue people. I'm David Esrati, and I'm running for Congress as an American, as in red, white, and blue. I'm a veteran, an activist, and a small businessman. I'm asking you to join me in reminding the professional politicians in Congress who their bosses are. I support ranked choice voting, campaign finance reform, and a verified voter information system, all so we can stop having the best politicians money can buy. It's time to elect a veteran who will work for you, no matter what color they want to label you. Please go to electesrati.com and learn more. I'm David Esrati, and I approve this message. Jurassic Park, you thought those little baby dinosaurs were cute until they turned into out-of-control carnivores. That's sort of what happens to government when we elect people based on very expensive advertising campaigns and propaganda. I'm David Esrati. I'm a veteran and a small businessman running for Congress. You don't want professional ad people and pollsters to sway your vote. All those hot-button issues like gun control, abortion, borders are all politicized to stop you from voting rationally. And thinking rationally seems to be in short supply these days. Most Americans have been voting against their own best self-interest for a long time because we've allowed money to buy our leaders. 1 million Americans died in the last 2 years because our leaders couldn't lead. It wasn't that hard. Mask, distance, test, and then vaccinate. In an instant, we had billions to spend on healthcare for COVID, when for years we've been told we can't provide healthcare for everyone equally in this country. That's an unintended consequence of the pandemic. If you think about it, our government can pretty much do whatever it wants, or what the people who buy our politicians tell our leaders to do. We also had a ton of money to prop up businesses. The next thing you know, it turns out that a living wage was not only possible, but necessary. As a small businessman who won't sell you out to corporate interests and lobbyists, I can tell you that it's time to fully understand the consequences of companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google and their effect on small business, and to remind you that small business is the #1 creator of jobs in this country. So this next election, don't trust this ad or any other political ad. Do your homework and think before you vote. It's time to put this ad man in Congress because I know that the best advertising is based on the truth, not the size of the budget or payroll. Or you can just vote based on who has the money to buy their way into Congress and live with the consequences. I'm David Esrati, and I approve this message. Hi, I'm David Esrati, and I'm running for Congress. Welcome to my live stream town hall. Do this daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're here, put a note in the comments. We see those, we can respond. But today we're going to talk about what happened today at noon when the Department of Justice released something they don't normally release. That in itself is important. Why is it important? Because the Department of Justice and the FBI seem to think that they are super secret squirrels that don't have to talk to the rest of us most of the time. In fact, in the FOIA case that I have filed in last year to get the tapes they presented to the grand jury of Dan Whaley in the culture of corruption investigation, I am getting stonewalled over and over, despite the fact that I know that Joey D. Williams, former city commissioner, was found and caught accepting a bribe 1 year into a 4-year term, worked as a confidential informant for 3 whole years, making recordings, ran for office with an agreement with FBI and the DOJ to step down if he got reelected, which he did, and then he stepped down. So the FBI and the DOJ ran a sting operation, and they had a Manchurian candidate, a candidate who was under their control. Wasn't working for us, was working for them. That's a big deal, and no national news has picked it up. It's serious. I filed a FOIA request. I had 3 federal judges recuse themselves from the case. The 4th one tried to dismiss it administratively, and I have it appealed to the 6th Circuit. But in the meantime, they've stalled and delayed. What does this mean? This could mean that Nan Whaley, and I know these tapes exist because because Dayton's a small town, I knew somebody who knew somebody on the grand jury. And they played these tapes, and they were sure they were going to indict her. It means that she dropped out of the mayor's race at the last minute because they didn't want a repeat of the Williams situation. And now she's running for governor, possibly as an undercover agent for the FBI. Now that's great. They're going to bust somebody bigger, you say. But what they did in Dayton is criminal in that they only implicated black people. Black people in the culture of corruption. Despite the fact that it takes 3 votes to do anything in the city of Dayton. And they put it all on Joey Williams, Roshan Winburn, Clayton Lucky, who's already a convicted felon, and businessman Brian Higgins, who just happened to get mixed up in the whole thing on the side. The reality is they spent millions of dollars on this investigation. And what do they have to show for it? Williams went to jail for 3 months. Roshan's not going to jail at all. Clayton Lucky went to jail for 3 months. And Higgins, on an unrelated insurance fraud case, goes for 3 years. They spent millions of dollars. I then did a FOIA request on Willis Blackshear Sr., where his indictment was his warrant was unsealed after I filed the case. And the FBI and the DOJ tried to pretend they didn't have any records on him, which it caught one of the judges, and that's why he had to recuse himself. So this is how the FBI and the DOJ works. They've been using what's called the GLOMAR excuse, which stands for Global Marine, which was a top secret program run by the CIA to build a ship to go and find out about a Russian submarine. It's the we cannot confirm or deny response. But here we have real national security issues. Again, what Nan Whaley did is not a national security issue. It's not at the level of anywhere close to what's going on with Trump. And they have stonewalled. But on this one, they've talked. And what they've said is deafening. But I got to first say, what Donald Trump said this morning, before the things were released, is criminal. He said, before the documents were released, he attacked the department on Truth Social, his own platform, since he's been banned from Twitter. He called the Justice Department and FBI political hacks and thugs who had no right under the Presidential Records Act to storm Mar-a-Lago and steal everything in sight, including passports and privileged documents. Hate to tell you, Donald, those documents have people's lives attached to them. Just like when you tweeted a photo of a bomb explosion that gave away the knowledge that the Israelis had people in place. This was well documented earlier. You cannot be trusted with stuff, period. You showed that over and over and over again. And now you're complaining that you want to see the evidence, and you've had your boy Mike Turner, who is my opponent, going after the FBI and the DOJ, and you've got crazy people like, I think, Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene saying defund the FBI because you did something wrong. You did something very wrong. You took home top secret documents, SCI documents, special access program documents. It is absolutely illegal, wrong, treasonous, and you should go to prison for a very long time. The fact that Turner's been defending you is a good reason that he shouldn't be in Congress, and he definitely shouldn't be on the House Intelligence Committee as the ranking minority member. Senator Mark Warner, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee, called for an assessment of the damages posed by the mishandling of the information. This affidavit thing is serious. Usually they're left sealed until criminal charges are filed. And even then, they tend only to emerge as important legal issues in a case are litigated. They turned over the documents early, and for good reason. Because Donald Trump is a criminal, and Mike Turner defends him. I don't know how to make it any clearer for you, but the National Archives had, when they retrieved the 15 boxes and found stuff that was marked top secret and stuff related to the special access programs, they knew they had to go to somebody to get them, and Donald wasn't going to provide them. On August 8th, when they raided, they found additional material, presidential records, and classified documents in the basement area, as well as in a container on the floor of Mr. Trump's closet in his office, a former dressing room in the bridal suite above the club's ballroom. Look, let's just take our top secret documents and just strew them around the place. Why not? Never mind the fact that Jared Kushner got a $2 billion deal going with the Saudis, who shouldn't have access to any of this stuff. So the real question is Donald Trump selling these things so he can make money to pay for his defense? I wouldn't put it past him. The reality is the fact that he's not in cuffs sitting in a federal prison awaiting trial is something to consider. Because at any point, he could run his mouth on Truth Social or anywhere else, because as Mike Turner said, he's got more secret documents in his head than he has in his desk, and people could die. We have a base here that our economy depends on. Mike Turner says he works for it, but what he really means is he works for defense contractors who sell the federal government gobs of stuff that we may or may not need. What we do have to have, though, is security. Classified documents, classified information needs to stay in a SCIF, not in your basement, not in the former dressing room in the bridal suite above the club's ballroom. That doesn't cut it. In fact, the closet had a hotel-style safe, but it did not contain the materials investigators thought and was too small to hold the documents. So he had enough documents that they don't fit in a safe. Hello? Earth to Merrick Garland? Are you going to arrest him yet? Because I guarantee if anybody at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base took home TS, SCI documents, they would be immediately in prison. Their cell phone would be taken away. Their house would be swept absolutely clean for documents. They would have been examining everything you've transmitted and said and received, sent and received for the last year, because you are probably a spy or a traitor. Call it what you want. So, what they said, the DOJ, was that the disclosure of these documents could compromise clandestine human sources used in intelligence gathering, and cited possible violations of the Espionage Act and obstruction of justice statutes. And they were warning the FBI that obstruction would be found. They said witnesses are being redacted out of this document because they could be subjected to retaliation, intimidation, or harassment, even threats to their physical safety. We already had a guy try to raid the FBI headquarters down in Cincinnati, which is a very secure establishment, with a gun, and he ended up dead. But he was rallied on by people like Trump and Turner antagonizing the FBI. This is no laughing matter. This is no joke. If when I was in the Army and I was deployed, and it was a classified operation, now I served with Special Forces. I did not complete my Q course certification, but I was on a team in the reserves. Had I been somewhere outside of this country, there's a good likelihood that I wouldn't have had patches on my uniform, underwear that was tagged to look that it was made from the United States. I would have a clean, scrubbed identity. They used to say you couldn't have identifying marks on your body, and in fact, one guy I worked with, Sergeant Gristar, before they were going to send him to Nicaragua, he got a huge tattoo on his chest that said Yankee, which got him busted 1 or 2 ranks and kept stateside. This is no joke. If I was overseas, operating behind enemy lines or in foreign places, I don't want that information to get out, because it would mean I would die. Donald Trump can't be trusted with these documents. Mike Turner, defending Donald Trump, says Mike Turner shouldn't be trusted with these documents. This is serious. And the judge had already noted those dangers are not hypothetical in this case. Agents were most alarmed to discover that many of the materials include the highest national security restrictions, requiring they be held in controlled government storage facilities and barring them from even being shared with foreign governments to protect, ever being shared with foreign governments to protect clandestine human sources employed by the intelligence community to collect information around the world, according to the document. I don't know what makes it any clearer that Donald Trump is a menace to this country. He led an insurrection. He denied a fair election. He's rallied people to believe his cockamamie story of people somehow cooking the ballots enough for him to lose, despite the fact that he had incredible numbers of the popular vote that said, no, we don't want you, Donald. If he was in statistics class, he would fail. We've already seen his associates in the Trump organization pleading guilty to 15 counts of tax fraud. We've had countless lawsuits against this man. This is a man that said, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. He's also one who said he could grab women right by the you-know-what, and he still got elected. Our country is at a turning point. And the people who are apologists for Donald Trump or supporters of Donald Trump need a case of reality handed to them. This affidavit should have proved that reality is coming for them quickly. I've questioned since the certification vote on January 6th if any of the people in Congress, at least in the House, who did not vote to accept those election results should be in office at all, because they were elected by those very same election results. In the Senate, it gets a little different because those are on 6-year terms and they run they space them out, so only a third of the Senate turns every 2 years. But the ones that were re-elected in 2019, who voted against accepting the election results, they too should be tossed right out, and we should start over. It's time to cleanse our country of this pollution that has come from Donald Trump. And Mike Turner is an enabler. If you got any questions or you got anything to say, please put them in comments. You know, I realize a lot of the people watch this after the fact. And again, if you have questions, put them in the note in the comment section at the bottom of the post, and we'll come back to them the next day. We read everything. I am first and foremost an American. I served my country. I get my health care from the VA, and it's outstanding. I'm running for office because the events of January 6th scared the living crap out of me. I don't ever want to see people raiding our capital again, especially Americans. It'd be one thing if they were Russians or they were Chinese or they were who knows who. But to see red-blooded Americans doing this is scary. And I see your comment, Mark. Cleanse the country, drain the swamp. No, I'm not sounding like Donald Trump. And I don't believe in loyalty oaths or anything else. But when we're starting to see media personalities being held liable for the swill they serve up on their radio shows, Alex Jones got hit with a $50 million judgment, and now he's claiming he's broke. It's time to stop. When we have people at Fox being called in about talking about how the election was rigged and being threatened with being sued, or how the companies that made the voting machines are suing some of these people, and we have secretaries of state running who still believe Trump should have been president, we have a problem. I'm an American first. That's number one. Number two, yeah, I'm a Democrat, but they don't really like me much. I'm not a Republican. Again, the saying is, put it in D to go drive forward, put it in R, go in reverse. The Constitution wasn't written to be set in stone. The idea of originalism is insane. The Supreme Court that voted to overturn Roe v. Wade was three of those appointments were done by Donald Trump, who's basically a criminal. I don't know how this country has slipped that far, but I have a feeling, I've talked about it before, when I said the algorithm is feeding you more and more, and that disease is festering within our citizens. We need to come back together. We need to have people who will work for you, talk to you, believe in transparency, believe in honesty, believe in our country and the spirit of what made our country great. That's not coming from Mike Turner. Mike's out there screaming the sky is falling because you raided former President Trump's house, and oh my God, you're trying to stop him from getting reelected. He never should have been elected in the first place, Mike. Get with the program. And to those of you who somehow thought he was going to fix things, yeah, he fixed them all right. He said, I'm the only guy who ever made money running for president. It's all about money with Donald Trump. He'll sell his soul to the devil faster than anybody. And I'm positive that he was retaining these documents so that he could make more money, because that's all he cares about. He never cared about you. In fact, he was a Democrat for so many years before he flipped. And there's a quote that he once said that if he was going to run, he'd run as a Republican, because something about they'll do anything. But I can't even remember that exact quote at this point. So I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll be back on Monday. Few other things, housekeeping things. I got endorsed by the Ohio OASPE/AFME/AFL-CIO, the School Teachers Union, State of Ohio, Local 4. I really appreciate that. It's now up on the website. We're looking for some other endorsements, and one of the things I still need to talk about, I believe, is marijuana and the laws and the licensing. But Normal contacted me for an endorsement. I've got, hopefully, some Shepherd Ferry posters on the way that'll be signed, and numbered posters that we will have in our at our fundraiser, and we will also make sure anybody who donated will have a chance to win one through a random drawing. There are lots of things you could do to help the campaign, but the most important one is think about making a donation at electesrally.com/donate. It's up there on the screen right now. Please think about it. A few other things tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday night at South Park Green if you're in the area. My neighborhood will be putting on Shakespeare's 12th Night. It's totally free. It starts at 8. Bring a lawn chair. Enjoy. We'll be filming it tonight. It's kind of cool. My neighbors get together and do Shakespeare. That's why my neighborhood's better than your neighborhood. This is a neighborhood where neighbors become friends. Other than that, we've still got shirts. We've got campaign lit for people to go door to door with, and we'd love to have you in on the campaign and working with us. So please spread the word. Put out a thing on Facebook and on Twitter about this very issue, warning people at the base that, hey, no matter what your congressman says, don't take the stuff home. Because unlike Trump, you will go to prison. You will go directly to prison. You will not pass go. You will not collect $200. Anyway, I'm David Esrati. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. Thank you very much for watching.